Ciao e benvenuti. Welcome to another episode of Richard Harris's Herbal Tutorials. The tutorials that are about marrying your common sense with science to get proper instructions in the use of these natural items that are used medicinally. And today I'm discussing vegetables, their advantages and disadvantages, whether to eat them raw or cooked. I'm Richard Harris, a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine for over 30 years. I also have diplomas from the National Acupuncture Detoxification Association, NADA, for treating drug addiction using acupuncture and herbs, and also a diploma in Herudotherapy. That is a medical system of treating diseases using leeches. Find me to speak a little about some topics relating to health. Don't you think so? That being said, in this podcast, I shall be discussing the topic of raw vegetables. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? After this video, I hope many of the misconceptions concerning this topic are settled. So sit tight, put on your thinking caps, and come with me as I take you on another magic carpet ride to see if we can unearth the answer to the questions of whether raw vegetables are good for you. You'll get dizzy on this ride with proper information. Let's start with a question. You have to go on a long journey. You're given a vehicle and you have to choose water or petrol for the vehicle. Which one would you choose? I'm sure everyone will choose the petrol. We are all intelligent enough to know if we choose the water, the car wouldn't start and we wouldn't reach our destination. On the other hand, if we choose the petrol, we'll get there. It will take us some time to do so, but we would. We will have to make several stops for the car to cool down, but we will reach our destination. With the water, we wouldn't reach anywhere. The petrol gives the car energy to move, and the water cools down the engine from the heat. The combustion of the moving parts of the engine creates because of the heat generated by the petrol. Like the petrol and water, our foods perform similar functions in our bodies. High protein and carbohydrate rich foods such as meats, eggs, cheese, milk, grains, cassava, breadfruit, rice, etc. function as the figurative petrol in our bodies. These foods are the building blocks of our bodies. Their main component is protein. When we consume them, they produce heat. That's why our parents used to give us regular purges when we were growing up. They used to look at the pimples on our faces, smell our breath, our perspiration, our flatulences, and they would remark, "You need cooling." Then the purges follow. I'm sure you all can remember those days. Most vegetables function in an opposite direction. They cool us down from the heat caused by those high protein, high carbohydrate foods. Vegetables are the figurative water. They generally have a cool or cold energy. They contain large amounts of water and they can drop body temperature. That's why our foreparents refer to them as cooling. The car needs more gasoline than it does water. While it needs both, the petrol is the primary ingredient needed for the car to work. In like manner, we need more building foods than cooling foods. Because most humans spend an enormous amount of their time engaging in physical activity of one sort or the other. So logically, our diet should contain about 75% building type foods and 25% cooling type food. A second question: if you were to feed a child or anyone for that matter for a prolonged period of time with only vegetables and fruits, giving them as much as they need to be satisfied, that person would become cold, emaciated, extremely deficient, and die at some time from some cause relating to emaciation. On the other hand, if you were to give that child or person's milk alone, beef broth, beef, cassava, or plantain for a prolonged period, they would grow and be fine. Which of the two food groups sustain life? The high protein, high carbohydrate food? Of course, that's a common sense conclusion that even a simpleton can deduce. If you're enjoying this video and you're learning new things, why not pause for a brief moment and hit the subscribe and notification button to be the first to get my new uploads. Also, don't forget to remember to like, share, and comment. Place your questions and comments in the comment section and I'll get back to you. Here's another thoughtful question. Have you ever noticed when countries need food aid, fruits and vegetables are not sent? And it's not because they don't have or because they're perishable. Fruits are radiated and they last for months, so they can be sent. Instead, foods that are predominantly starchy and high in protein, such as grains, milk, beans, etc., are sent. Why? Because they sustain life. What used to be the principal diet of the Eskimo before they became assimilated into modern society? Meat, whale, seal, etc. When Europeans went to the Americas, what were the Indians eating? Buffalo and other animals, corn and cassava. There were no vegetable gardens. And note, in spite of the lack of these vegetables, which are supposed to be so good and you can't do without them, they're now even being touted as superfoods. The diseases that was ravaging the population of modern society were practically non-existent. It was only after they came with their leaven, the whole lump became fermented. Indigenous people's diet mainly consisted of meats, some types of grain and fruit whenever they are found. Vegetables are generally cold energetically, and because of this cold energy, it may interfere with digestion by neutralizing the stomach acid. Besides, as I reasoned a little while above, because we are wonderfully made, this process of harming the digestive system takes place incrementally. Therefore, it's not the wisest thing to be eating raw vegetables. Another question: how many athletes engaged in extreme physical and demanding sports like boxing, bodybuilding, lawn tennis, and athletes are non-meat eaters? If you know of any, I'd like to know. If there are any, I'm absolutely certain they use large amounts of supplements. If their choice of food is so superior, why can't they do without the use of large amounts of supplements? Supplements for vegetarians are a necessity. For meat eaters, it's a matter of choice. Which food group seems to be able to sustain life? Western thinking is vegetables are rich in vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, and cooking destroy them. So let's eat them raw and plentiful to maximize their effects. No thought about digestion. People from Southeast Asia also know the importance of vegetables, so they use them a lot. They also knew raw vegetables injure the digestion. So, how did they counteract that? With spices. Spices are generally warm or hot, so they neutralize the chills of the vegetables. So, when you go to India and Pakistan, etc., India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and so forth, expect to feel the fire in both orifices after eating. In East Asia, vegetables are stir fried. Putting them quickly through fire neutralizes their coldness without destroying the minerals and vitamins, so the stomach can better tolerate them while at the same time keeping their nutritional value. Whenever you buy Chinese food, you lovers of Chinese food, have you ever gotten raw vegetables on them? No. Those are common sense issue. A question for the older ones. Do you remember the times when these were the guidelines that directed our eating patterns? To give you a personal experience, once when I was a child, I came home in the night with some cucumbers, went into the kitchen, started cutting them up to eat. My grandmother saw me and she said to me sternly, "You ain't eating that in here tonight. It will ride your stomach. Put that away." I obediently put it away. Didn't understand the reasoning, but in those times, we didn't have the options of disobeying. What she was telling me is the same thing I learned when I went to China to study. And then I could have seen the rationale behind what she told me. I'll give you another example. One night I was home, relaxing, watching TV about 11 o'clock, and a patient of mine came and asked me if I could go to the hospital to see her brother, who had incessant diarrhea. So we went and we got somehow, I don't know what string she pulled, but we managed to get into the ward and we saw the patient. And he had diarrhea. And I asked him, "What did you eat?" And he said, "Nothing really. I just came home in the night and I decided to eat some salads. So I went into the kitchen, into the fridge, got some tomatoes and cucumber, and I cut it up and added a little salt and I ate it." And I said, "That give you diarrhea." It got the stomach and the large intestine so cold that they lost their ability to hold up the stool. They became lax. And he had diarrhea. And we sent a medicine the Chinese call ginseng and ginger. Consists of warm drugs, dry ginger, ginseng, and some other drug. And he drank it. The next day he was out of the hospital. Diarrhea stopped. These are just some examples, practical examples, that made me know that I was on the right track with regards to avoiding raw vegetables. So, as usual, we have come to the end of another interesting podcast. It was fun while it lasted, but all good things must come to an end. However, I shall be back soon, Jehovah's will, with more such enlightening, common sense videos. Ciao, ciao, a presto, bye bye, see you soon.